Donald Trump Jr. had another manic episode. He does not seem to be handling well that the entire Trump business seems to be crumbling. Trump and his legal problems don't seem to be getting any better. In fact, they seem to be getting worse. And this is really crazy. Donald Trump Jr. spoke to a right-wing summit in Texas called the Texas Youth Summit. You know, they talk about, right-wingers do, protecting our children. We need to protect our children from this, that, the other thing. And then they unleash a completely hopped up manic Donald Trump Jr. on the youth of Texas. And it is really just bonkers stuff. Again, we don't know that he's on uppers when he's doing these things, but this is not a normal way to behave. It just doesn't seem like a regular functional person. But here he is in the Woodlands, Texas, addressing the youth of our country, if you can imagine.
Lululemon doesn't have a lot of bread.
Right.
Because I'm looking at the store, I'm like, there's not a lot of bread in a Lululemon. There's not a lot of bread in the Gucci store, and yet everyone seems like, unless you're eating Gucci loafers, which you're probably not. But this is the insanity, you know, remember?
Right. These are really relatable anecdotes, as you can completely understand. Now, maybe not shocking, the right-wingers are now coming out of the woodwork to defend Russell Brand. Again, everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and allegations are simply allegations. To believe that it is all fake against Russell Brand, we're now in the court of public opinion. You have to believe that there are, fake text messages from Russell apologizing for the things he's been accused of that are fake or made to make him look bad. You have to believe that there has been an incredible wide-ranging conspiracy, as always. But that doesn't stop Don Jr. from coming out and saying, they're going after Russell now. It's all bogus.
Strange, man. Russell Brand, just like Justice Kavanaugh, is apparently, according to these people, a serial rapist.
Right.
That's terrible.
These crazy people.
Obviously. Like, why didn't this news come out when he was, like, married to Katy Perry and one of the most famous people in the world? I'm trying to figure that out, because you'd think if someone was so terrible.
He's sort of making the point that contradicts the conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory is Russell Brand's political influence has gotten so big that now they need to stop him with false allegations. Of course, as I pointed out, Russell Brand's YouTube channel gets 35% fewer views than mine does. And so it's like, is that really believable that that's the reason his political influence is just so big? It's just that they love defending these people. Still very hopped up. Here's Don Jr. referring to the Washington Post as the Washington Piece. And he gets kind of that confused look on his face that his dad gets when he glitches.
Amazon, Jeff Bezos' own Washington Piece, maybe.
That Washington Piece. You can't get away from it. And then Junior says to the kids at the Texas Youth Summit, if you let these left-wingers do what they want to do, you'll be eating bugs. They'll be eating steak, but you will be eating bugs.
They'll be fine with you eating bugs. They're going to keep eating steak.
Right.
But as long as they get rid of most of the cows and feed you bugs, someone's got to eat the rest of the cows, right? It's going to be them, not you.
Right. This is part of course, the elitist plot. And then he starts to come down a little bit, really sweaty, but I guess coming down, and just ranting and raving in a way that does not seem normal.
The Democrats on the committee play that. No, well, it's a bipartisan committee. So they call me back to do this, and the head of the committee at the time took me into the room after another hours of grilling. And again, they're not looking for anything. They know it's a sham. But what they figure is if they get you in a room for 50 hours over multiple months and different committees, maybe you say something just slightly different.
Yep. This is the perjury trap argument, which is there are no underlying crimes for any of these people. The 4 criminal indictments against Trump, the civil lawsuits, bringing Don Jr. in, January 6th committee, there's no substance of criminality. It's let's get these people interviewed enough times that they might say something that conflicts, meaning a perjury trap of sorts. There is, of course, no evidence that that's what's going on. And it continues to be a shock that Don Jr. is invited to speak to groups of kids. Now, one thing I do want to say I am not a person completely without empathy. As horrible a person as Don Jr. is, and as terrible as his political instincts are about what would be good for the country, on some level, I get that he wouldn't be doing well. If my dad were under 4 criminal indictments, had been impeached twice, was the global humiliation that Trump is, was, it was publicly known that he cheated all the time, had bonkers relationships, paying off women, civilly liable for rape, and then just made a fool out of himself every time he spoke publicly, and maybe is going to spend the rest of his life in prison, I wouldn't be doing well. I don't know that I'd be doing manic hopped up speeches to the Texas Youth Summit, but I also wouldn't be doing well. And we can sort of leave it at that.